Govinda Swami Srila Gurudev ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paripajika Jai Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paripajika Jai Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Kamsikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Radha Shivasri Shiva Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki Shri Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Jamuna Mai ki Bhakti Devi ki Chalasu Maharani ki Shrimati Radharani ki Shri Shri Gwanitai ki Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Lady Subhadra Devis ki Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki Shri Shri Radha Gopalji ki Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Premanam Sankirtan Jati ki Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki. Where's Sham?
He's here.
Why is not here?
He's getting some calls.
Get out. Then Maya, Prabhupada says, Maya will wage a ferocious attack against you. So whatever our attachments are, whatever we're most attached to, the threat of losing that, Maya knows this is the greatest weapon. So all family attachment, bodily attachment, whatever your plans are for your materialistic life, if there's some threat that somehow you're going to lose that or you can't have that, then immediately we get an anxiety, immediately we become disturbed, and then immediately we become shaky, and then we start hesitating because of fear. Right? We're attached to the body, so as soon as there's some fear to something to the body, we're immediately fearful because we're attached to the body. We're afraid to die. Everybody's afraid to die because we're attached to the body. Even sometimes people don't want to die because they think, oh, my family will suffer. If I die, everyone will be suffering. So they're just worrying for that, for the bodily relation. So everybody is gripped by fear. The material world on animalistic consciousness level means so much fear and anxiety. That's animal consciousness. The soul has no fear. The closer you get to the soul, the less fear you perceive. So the more Krishna conscious we become, the less fear and anxiety will come. Krishna says, as you surrender, I reward you accordingly. Where's your beads? Why doesn't he have his beads?
It's broke and we will fix it.
It's not tied together?
No. It's like, we found one like needle today, we will.
Why can't you just tie it like a knot?
It's like this thread was short, so we will put another thread and then we will tie.
Okay. So, material life, material consciousness means fearfulness because of attachment to body, bodily relations, and whoever we're attached to, then we're fearing that we'll lose it somehow, or that somehow we'll be forced into suffering condition. So we're very worried, very fearful, anxiety. Arjuna's argument was, well, if I kill, then I'll just go to hell. I'll have to suffer there in hell, right? So he's giving all these arguments based on bodily conception. So this devotee means fearless. Krishna has no fear, the soul has no fear. That's what it means. Vaikuntha means no fear, no anxiety. So the more fear and anxiety, that means too much material consciousness, too much bodily consciousness, too much false ego. That's where the fearfulness, that's where the anxiety coming from. So if we're introspective, we'll understand when we're peaceful and we're happy, then we can understand, yes, I'm in nice consciousness by the mercy of Guru Krishna, I'm more peaceful, my fear and anxiety, I don't feel so much as before, and whatever I thought was so serious, so immediate, so big problem, doesn't seem so bad, because by Guru Krishna's mercy everything can be solved. So then you get a sense of freedom by being in higher consciousness, by mercy of Guru Krishna means closer to soul consciousness. Because the purification from the modes of nature by the mercy of Guru Krishna, Rishikesh, master of mind and senses, he purifies controlled mind and senses. So once you have that experience, then you realize, oh, this is very nice, this is more sane, this is a better quality of life than just running around in chaos with a fear and anxiety, trying to please everybody and pleasing nobody, including ourselves. So that's not a solution. It's not a real solution. So then, if we're devotee, means we should be introspective. We should be able to every moment study the movement of our mind and senses, consciousness. We're supposed to be aware of that. Krishna says in every activity, in every action, be fully conscious of me. But if we're not fully conscious of our soul, how are you going to be fully conscious of Krishna? You need soul consciousness, you need the soul vision, you need the what is it, the divinity, right? The divine consciousness to realize Krishna. You can't, if you're just on bodily platform, how are you going to just be conscious of Krishna? If we're not even conscious of our own soul. So we're supposed to be studying our own consciousness every second, every moment. Because we're meant to be Krishna conscious every moment. So that means that we realize the soul, the condition that our soul is in, that is self-realization. So if we are being self-realized, then we can understand, oh, Maya is attacking me. Oh, fear, anxiety is attacking me. Now I'm being overwhelmed by material desire, sense gratification, material attachment, so much fearfulness, so much anxiety. We should immediately be able to register that and to scientifically analyze that. And you can't unless you had moments of pure consciousness by the mercy of Guru Krishna. That's why I always make this statement, what quality of life do you prefer? So if all we know is a life of chaos, doing basically damage control, running like a rat's, in the cage for the mice, for the cheese, for the paneer, then that's the only life that we know. But if we get relief from that, by the mercy of Guru Krishna, and you get a higher state of consciousness, you become more peaceful, you become more sane, the strength of the materialistic thoughts and desires become weakened, like a snake with the teeth knocked out. Now one is not overwhelmed with anxiety and fearfulness. then Prabhupada said, then you can become happy. We're meant to be happy. The soul is by nature such an ananda, vigraha. So unless we're free from anxiety, in the Vaikuntha consciousness, there's no ananda, there's no happiness, because that's on soul platform. When we get some sense gratification on material platform, we get some moment of some so-called pleasure, but it's very fleeting, very chanchalam, and then the price is too high and it goes away anyway. That's why Krishna said those who are intelligent, they don't participate in it because they know it has a beginning and an end. So if it's short-lived and the price is through the sky, it's not worth it. At some point we're going to realize that. So we're supposed to be studying all of these things. One time I asked the Bodhi's preacher, how's everybody's consciousness? He says, I have no idea. He's giving so many pravachans, so many classes, right? I just said, before I went in to see everybody, I said, how's everybody's consciousness? He said, I have no idea. I could not see anybody's consciousness. So first I said to him, I said, then why are you trying to be a preacher? What is the meaning of your being a preacher if you cannot understand anyone's consciousness? And the fact that you don't understand anyone else's consciousness means you don't understand your own consciousness. You would have to understand your own consciousness in relationship to Krishna to have spiritual intelligence to understand everyone else's consciousness. And without that, how can you be a preacher? It's like being a doctor and then having all medicines and you don't know who has what disease and you don't know which medicine to apply to which person. Then it's all just speculative. We'll try this one, try that one. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that. Prabhupada said yesterday, definitively, Guru tells you, this is what Krishna wants from you. And then Prabhupada said, well, how do you say, Prabhupada, that you're saying definitively? And Prabhupada said, I say boldly, definitively, because Krishna told me. Otherwise, if Krishna is not telling, that's why I asked that Maharaj. If you cannot hear Krishna, and you don't ask Krishna, what do you want this person to do, and you can't hear the answer, then how do you answer that person's question? On which basis do you answer the person's question? I asked him, where will the intelligence come from to answer the question? And it's either going to come from Krishna, or it's going to come from Maya. And you're telling, you're Maharaj, you're Guru, you're writing books on Diksha Shiksha, and you're saying it doesn't have to come from Krishna. Well, if it doesn't come from Krishna, that means it's coming from Maya. That's why you're saying, sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. You're admitting that you're speculating. That's why you could not definitively say, perhaps it's like this, maybe it'll work like this. In my opinion, no, I'm asking what is Krishna's opinion? What does Krishna want me to do? That's when you need a guru. Right? If it's about speculating, I'll speculate myself. Isn't it? Because we're ultimately responsible, right, for ourselves. That's why we say, I'll just speculate myself. I may listen to other people's opinion, but at the end of the day, I'll make my own decision. Well, that's a big difference. Arjuna said to Krishna, can you shut up? Arjuna said to Krishna, tell me decisively, specifically, what should I do? Okay. Little quote. So he's asking for a definite, decisive answer. Then you need a guru. So that's why last night or whenever we talked, I was saying we have to, nobody said, should I do this or that, or I have a plan like this and that. And I said, well, did you ask Krishna? And they're like, no. And I never even thought about it. I was so busy trying to figure out what to do that I never asked Krishna, what do you want? So if Krishna doesn't tell you what he wants, and you can't hear that, then Krishna says you're lost. So anyone who says, well, I think Krishna wants you to do like this, and someone else says, well, I think Krishna wants you to do like that, and someone else says, well, I think Krishna wants you to do like that, how do you know what Krishna wants? If you can't hear Krishna, you're lost. So how are you going to make a decision what's coming from Krishna? How you come to a definitive, final, decisive understanding of what Krishna wants from you? Without Krishna's mercy, it's impossible. So we're not even asking. We're not begging, crying, Krishna, I have to know decisively, definitively. We're just trying to figure it out, and we're like, well, I wonder what Krishna wants me to do. It seems so difficult to know. It's so confusing. Because the way we're going about it, the way we're trying to come to the conclusion, that's not Krishna's problem, that's our problem. Because we're not trusting him. And we cannot hear him. Krishna says, in all of your activities, depend upon me. Be fully conscious of me. Work under my protection. Then you'll overcome all of the obstacles and difficulties in your life. But in the next verse, Krishna says, but if you can't hear me because you have false ego, and so much ignorance is there, like Himalayan mountains, then you're lost. So if we can't hear Krishna, that means all of our decisions are faulty, bad decisions. Because if we can't hear Krishna, that means our prompting, even we're saying, oh, I'm getting prompting in the heart. Right? Gurudev said, what is the prompting in the heart that you think is coming from Krishna? Is just coming from Maya. Well, I'm just, looking for the prompting in the heart from Krishna. Right? Gurudev said, unless you're a liberated soul, you cannot hear prompting of Krishna in your heart. I'll prove it. I'll read it to you. Just so you don't think I'm making this stuff up, you know what I mean? Was it yesterday? Yeah. This is February 1993. I was fortunate enough to be there in February 1993. Krishna speaks through Shastra. Krishna speaks through the Shastra, through the Vedic literature, and he also prompts the bewildered soul inside the heart as Paramatma. But a conditioned soul cannot hear the Paramatma. Rather, he hears Maya, Maya's prompting. So if you say, I'm a conditioned soul, and I'm just speculating, maybe this, maybe that, I don't know what to do, what not to do, then you cannot hear Krishna. That's why Krishna comes out as the Guru. Chetu Guru becomes spiritual master. Because Krishna knows he's not hearing me. Krishna telling him, saying, oh, I don't have to listen to that. That's Maya. That's not significant. And then Maya is telling him, saying, no, Krishna's prompting me like this. So opposite. So conditioned soul cannot hear Krishna's prompting. He hears Maya's prompting. A liberated soul can hear what Paramatma is prompting. And then that will be confirmed by Sadhu Shastra Guru, Guru Sadhu Shastra. So that's why it says that when you become purified enough to realize your soul and to realize Atma, Paramatma, and that intelligence faith, knowledge is coming from the Paramatma, coming from Krishna. Krishna says, I am that Paramatma, Super Soul. Then when we're asking, well, what should I do? What is my service? Then Krishna said, I'm going to speak to somebody else. I'm not going to tell you directly. So Prabhupada says, for conditioned soul, the Paramatma will just dictate to you who he's going to speak to. Not directly. Otherwise, we think we're going to get a whole explanation of the difference between Tattva Vichara and Apavachara from the Super Soul. It is from him, but it's through via medium of the spiritual master who's quoting authority, Guru Sadhu and Shastra. And then Krishna said, yes, this is very good. This has ring of truth. This makes sense. Then you see by the results, yes, this is working. So the Maharaj telling that you don't have to be, the Guru doesn't have to be liberated soul. Well, if he's not liberated soul, then only he's hearing Maya's prompting. So then if I ask the Maharaj, what should I do? And all he's hearing is Maya's prompting, that means he's going to misdirect me. Right? Then you'll be misdirected. That's why it's so important. Well, I'm a conditioned soul. How do I know who's liberated, who's not liberated? How do I know if this person's instruction is coming from Krishna? Like Prabhupada said, Krishna told me to tell you this. Or whether this person's on some ego trip and just carried away and just cheating us, how does conditioned soul know? Now, if someone's acting like a guru and he's saying you don't have to be liberated, then you can know. He's not quoting Guru Sadhu Shastra. Because if you're not getting your intelligence, Maharaj, from Krishna, then that prompting from your mind is coming from Maya. So either Krishna's, Rishikesh's controlling intelligence, mind, or senses, and if not, then it's Maya. So if you're telling it's not Krishna controlling your intelligence, mind, and senses, then that means it's Maya. That's a prompting of Maya. Maya is contaminating, controlling your intelligence, mind, and senses. Then how you can be my guru? If you're really guru, then why you're allowing your intelligence, mind, and senses to be guided by Maya? And now you're going to tell me how not to let my intelligence, mind, and senses not to be guided by Maya? How? How's it possible? So it says, bona fide guru knows what is Krishna's intention for you. Just like Prabhupada said yesterday. Mr. Krishna is a powerhouse. The power is coming, and then it's coming through the line. Or like the reservoir of water, it comes through the pipe. So when you want to really know what Krishna wants, then you need a guru, purify your medium. Otherwise, you don't need a guru. You'll just go collecting opinions and then see what makes the most sense from your materialistic, logical point of view, and then you'll just calculate your final decision. When you really want to know what Krishna wants decisively, specifically, like Arjuna, then you need a bona fide guru. But we're saying, oh no, we're devotees, we got initiated, we have a spiritual name, we've been in the movement for so long, we're senior devotee, we're giving classes, writing books on Diksha and Shiksha, right? We're already assuming all of that has been done, isn't it? Then we're getting puffed up because we already have it all figured out. And that's why it says that this Guru Tattva, Shiva Tattva, most difficult tattvas to understand. But what's so difficult? You're 6 months devotee, they said pick a guru and pick the guru. What's difficult about that? This is most difficult tattva? Because it's directly Krishna revealing himself to you. Inside and outside and through the Guru and through the Shastra. That's why if you really are inquisitive to know absolute truth, to know Krishna, then Krishna will send you a bona fide Guru. And Krishna said, then I'll give you intelligence, understanding, faith, how to know me, how to come to me, how to serve me. So that intelligence and faith is not just about realizing Krishna, Swa-atma, Paramatma, the Lord within the heart, or who is my Guru. It means understanding anything and everything related to Krishna. And then if we cannot hear Krishna, then that means Maya is controlling. Then what is the prompting? Or my mind liked that idea, my heart liked that idea. That's why I feel positive about it. The prompting is coming from Krishna in the heart. And we're assuming that. But how can conditioned soul, for not even getting two mercies from Krishna and Guru, it means you don't understand Paramatma, you don't understand Shiguru, Guru Tattva, then how you can say, no, I'm devotee, I'm getting prompting from Krishna within the heart. This is not to trick you, it's to make sure you don't get tricked. And because not everybody is speaking it, then we think, well, this is I should be careful. Because it's very subtle and it's very, not so easy to understand it. That's why some people, the Guru, some of these people tell you can understand it. You're not qualified to understand it. Don't even try to understand it. So that means you're not even trying to understand what Krishna wants. Krishna says, I'll give you intelligence and faith to understand it. So all of our suffering and anxiety is because of bad decisions. But if we cannot perceive our suffering and anxiety, then why talk about decisions? If you can truly realize, okay, all of my suffering has come to me because I have made bad decisions in this life and previous life. So all of my suffering is only because of that ignorance. Ignorance is the root cause of the suffering condition. So it's tamagun, a rajagun, it's an ignorance, ignorant platform. That means all decisions on those platforms is coming directly from Maya. It's all faulty. And that's the root cause of why we're suffering. But if we cannot realize we're in suffering condition, and we think I'm fine, I think I've managed pretty well, I think I've made very nice decisions in my life, and I'm satisfied with those decisions, and I'm satisfied with the results of those decisions, then why will you seek higher intelligence or better advice or instruction? That's the problem. So until Arjuna realized it, that what he was thinking, the results were not telling him that. So the results were becoming more and more difficult for him. It says material life is danger at every step. It's a life of perplexity. Material life is a puzzle, right? Dukalium, Shasvata. It's a place of misery. Are we realizing all of that? Threefold miseries, misery, reaction, sinful reaction. Do we feel perplexed and puzzled to the point of utter helplessness and hopelessness? No. Because Maya, she's saying everything's all right. It's all under control. Maya's got it all under control. And you're reasonably happy. So you're happy with your decisions, you're happy with your lifestyle, you're happy with the conclusion, the results of your decisions. You don't need a guru. You don't need higher intelligence or instruction because you think you're managing just fine. When Arjuna realized he's not managing just fine, and that suffering became intolerable, and he was not effective spiritually or materially, and he could find no end, no conclusion, and he saw this is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, better solve it sooner, then he surrendered. And then he said, now I need to hear, what is your intelligence? Because my so-called intelligence is what put me in trouble and couldn't solve my problem. So, not only could not solve the problem, it put me in trouble. So that means I need a higher intelligence, I need a higher instruction. Then he surrendered to Guru, Ariguru, Chaitya Guru, Krishna. And then he said, please you tell me definitively, precisely, specifically, however you definitely, what should I do? Because I don't know what to do. So conditioned soul, Prabhupada said they don't know what to do, what not to do. Do you know what to do and what not to do? Is it clear? Right? It's bewildering, it's confusing. What is true, what isn't? What does Krishna want? Who's a guru, who's not a guru? What instruction should you take? Which one should you not take? Who's giving you the best advice? What is real, what is unreal? What is truth, what is untruth? Now, if you don't really feel that, then why will you cry and pray to Krishna? To Krishna, this is so bewildering and so disturbing. Are you peaceful in this condition? You feel perfectly peaceful? How can it be? Because if we accept Krishna's instruction, Guru Krishna's instruction, therefore we'll feel spiritual shelter and protection. When you surrender to Krishna, Rishikesh, master of mind and senses, mind, intelligence, senses will be purified, peaceful, controlled. Then you feel more happy, more sane. If you like that kind of life, if you like that kind of result, then we'll continue to surrender and serve in Guru Krishna Samsara. If you can perceive that, then you have you can't compare it. Because all it is just variations of the same chaos, more or less. So it has to be such a drastic difference that it's undeniable. But if you cannot perceive your consciousness, you cannot perceive and study your mind, your intelligence, your senses, your reactions, your emotions, your feeling, if we cannot understand everything in a very scientific way, then it means we don't know what is what. Does it sound right? Maharaj, you like this conversation? Make sense? So this is what I was thinking about this morning. Ignorance is the root of the problem, but we don't think we're ignorant. I remember one time I said to my sister, she's trying to debate with me, have some discussion. I said, you see, there's too much ignorance. And she got so angry at me. Because I was saying they're so ignorant. But usually, like, you know, you say it like as like when you want to just like, you're just so ignorant, you know. But I wasn't saying like that. I was just saying, really, you're so unaware. You have no idea of what I'm trying to say, and you have no idea even what you're saying yourself. You're just talking. It's just like insane person, you know, they just they're saying so many things, but they're insane. Right? Do you ever meet these people? Right? They get so much to say. And then you're trying to listen to us, and it's like, what is this person talking about? This makes no sense. Some space alien came down last night, killed my parents, and he stole all my money, and, you know, they can say anything. And we're like, oh, really? That was, oh, really? That's too bad that happened. You know? And then Guru Shastra telling him, we're like, be careful, be careful. Something might happen. Right? So where we should be careful, we're not careful. Because we're ignorant. And the problem is that if we have lower consciousness, not so spiritually sharp, we can't understand what is what, then you join religious organization and everybody's saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Now it's really difficult to know. If someone's just saying, look, I have money, 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 you know, I'm going to buy this and that and this and that. Right? It's pretty obvious. This is just materialistic person, right? But if someone's saying Krishna and Bhakti and Prema and Brajabhumi, right? How will conditioned soul know? That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the greatest threat to Shuddha Bhakti is mixed Bhakti. Can you imagine? The greatest threat to pure Bhakti is mixed Bhakti, which is going on in the name of pure Bhakti. So it's not even mixed Bhakti, that's all right. But if it's mixed Bhakti, but it's being portrayed as pure Bhakti, that's the greatest enemy of pure Bhakti. Because it's the most difficult to decipher. Because it's so subtle. It's such a subtle, contamination that it's very difficult to see the difference. Right? You see I remember one devotee was saying, well, this person, he has so much relish when he's chanting, and he looks happy, and I'm lamenting why my chanting is so bad. And then it turns out he's like some Babaji, some bogus, impersonalistic Babaji. But externally, it looks like he's relishing chanting holy name, right? And then he's telling this is a pure bhakti. So as conditioned soul, how do you know the difference? How will you see the difference? How will you discriminate and understand that. And without Krishna, there's no way to be able to understand that. You know, if it's the difference between a gross materialist and, you know, and devotee, that's one thing. Right? Those who are bhajananandis or even impersonalists, right there, they have ananda, bhajanananda. They look blissful, they look happy, right? They're even considered transcendental because they're beyond material modes of nature. But they're impersonalists. But somehow, because they're in some kind of contact with Brahman, they're getting some type of moksha. So if someone's getting some type of moksha, not from a Brahman, and they look happy, then you think, oh, this is bhakti. So it's very, very difficult to understand all of these things. And unless we hear from one who understands it and can explain it, purify us, qualify us to be able to understand it, otherwise you cannot make a proper distinction. I asked my Gurudev, well, how does conditioned soul then understand it? And Gurudev said, by the results. By the results. Now you see our devotee, he had a satsanga, right, association with the devotees, and then he gets completely like in the worst possible consciousness. Did you get burned enough? Did you get your lesson?
Yeah.
Getting there? Now you see how subtle it is. It's just like the mother says, you know, be careful of a sharp knife, otherwise you're going to get cut. And you don't really understand that until you get caught. And then when you get caught and you're suffering, then you realize, oh, next time you use a knife, you'll be much more careful by practical experience. So what happens is when you do asatsanga, this contaminates your consciousness. It steals your spiritual intelligence. Now you don't know what is what, because now you're a complete tamoguna because of this asatsanga. Poison, it's like a poison. And then can we realize it? Do we know why we're in that condition? What is the cause of it? This is very dangerous. Because it says if you don't understand it properly, and if you're in ignorance, how are you going to understand it properly? Certainly you'll misunderstand it. And it says if you misunderstand, then you become, your life will be chaos. Complete, dangerous situation. Because you're not understanding properly. You're misunderstanding. You're misunderstanding, then you're committing aparad. Because of contaminated consciousness. But it looks like devotee, they're chanting, they're worshipping the deities. I remember when I went to the Guru Samama. I thought, oh nice, I'll get some advanced association, all the senior devotees, there'll be some nectar. And then they're never talking about Prabhupada, books, teachings. All just mental speculation, all material platform. Then it was complete contaminated. I remember one time I went to the temple, the Mangalarti, and a devotee was chanting. He had very beautiful voice, very nice, like professional quality. Then I was saying, oh, that he has a nice voice. So then I was a little bit appreciating his singing, right? And all of a sudden, I felt like horrible, like really, really horrible, really disturbed. And I was thinking, how can I feel like this? Mangalarti, I'm in front of the deities, Kirtan is going on. So I was saying, wow, how is my consciousness becoming so disturbed? Not more purified, more peaceful, more happy, more enlivened, opposite. Then I prayed to Krishna, how can it be like this? And then I understood, you're listening and trying to appreciate that person's kirtan. It's asat sangha. So immediately I ran out of the temple. You see how I'm in the temple, I'm with devotees, we're chanting holy name, we're in front of the deities. How can it be that I'm becoming more and more disturbed? Like a poison. But if you're not in nice consciousness, how will you perceive that? If you're already poisoned, what's a little more poison? Right? It's like almost imperceptible. But if you're healthy, and then you take some type of bad medicine or poison, immediately you're like, wow, the reaction is not nice. Then you can understand there's a problem. There's a problem there. And why is it like that? Oh, you took some bad medicine. But if we cannot realize the reactions, then we're not even asking how I got this reaction. Then it's all just going on. Do you have any points or questions on any of these things? It looks like devotee, right? Yeah.
So the holy name is pure in itself.
It's pure.
Yeah.
Yes. Krishna is pure. Krishna is pure.
But if someone's
Krishna is not different from his name. So if you chant pure holy name, Shuddhanam, then that's Krishna is there. He's not different from his name. So what is the quality of the chanting? That's why Prabhupada said when you chant, try to give up the offenses. Try to chant purely, sincerely, seriously. Then Krishna will help you. Then he'll purify you. He'll inspire you. So it's like, just like it says, like asatsanga, it's like, what is it, like a milk touched by the lips of the serpent has a poisonous effect.
even if it's Mama chanting, it's being chanted.
Huh?
Even if the person is chanting the
Holy name is always 100% pure. But because of our satsanga, we're not pure. It's not that the holy name is contaminating you. It's the poison. It's the poison that we let inside because of our satsanga. That's what's poisoning. With the milk is very nice. Right? But if a serpent touches the milk, and you don't know that, And you just look at it, it's like, oh, milk, some nice milk. And then you drink it, right? Then you see by the reaction, then you realize, oh, something else was put inside of here. There's some poisonous there. So you're telling by the results of the effect that there's poison there. So if you get mercy of Guru Krishna, mercy of Guru Shastra, then you see what effect am I getting? My mind, intelligence, senses becoming purified. Then you're getting, faith. You're getting transcendental intelligence. You're understanding the science of Krishna consciousness. All your fear and anxiety is going away. All your doubts are being destroyed. You feel shelter and protection. You're peaceful. Right? So you can see by the effects of that association and hearing, what results are you getting? So if you're hearing from somebody who's chanting or somebody who's giving pravachan, then it's one thing, okay, is this according to Guru Sadhana Shastra? Is this spiritually, scientifically correct based on authority? That way you can see, no, this is not what Prabhupada says, this is not what Guru Sadhana Shastra says, that's not correct. But what if they're just quoting directly? Now how will you know? Right, then you have to tell by the effect, by the results. I remember one time Gurudev, many times Gurudev said that if you're hearing properly in the right association, then your desire to become Krishna Das instead of Maya Das should increase. So as I was hearing from my spiritual master, and I'm praying, I don't want to be Maya Das anymore. I don't want to act independently. I don't want to be foolish, stupid. I really want to become Krishna Das. I really want to surrender to Krishna. Not pretending devotee, become real devotee. So you see, how are you praying? As you're hearing. So if you're hearing properly in the right association, we should be sincerely, seriously seeing the results. And then in that purified state of consciousness, we should be sincerely praying to Krishna that I want to be your Das. Please help me to become really Dasi. So you judge the thing by the result. But if we're not in nice consciousness, we cannot even perceive, what is the result, what is the effect, what consciousness are we in? Because there's too much tamagun. Too much tamagun, too much rajagun. The consciousness is so covered, you cannot perceive any of these things. This requires a purified state of consciousness. In order to be able to have spiritualized intelligence and spiritual senses enough to be able to measure and understand all of these spiritual subtleties. Otherwise, how will you know? That's why this is really meant for people, first, second class people. But anyway, gradually, by hearing from them, bona fide Guru Sadhu Shastra, hearing holy name, hearing Hari-katha, Krishna-katha, trying to serve devotees, then gradually you get purified, gradually they pray for you, gradually you get opportunity. Prabhupada said, just let it hit your ear somehow or other, whether you understand it or you don't understand it. Prabhupada said, if you hear Hari-katha, Krishna Nam, it's like a medicine. You don't even realize you're diseased. What to speak of understanding that this is the medicine. But once it's healing you, then you realize, oh, I was sick and this medicine healed me. But in the beginning, you don't even realize that. So that's why the doctor gives you medicine. He says, oh, just take this. You don't know how this medicine's working. Biologically, physiologically, chemically. The doctor said this will solve my problem, I'm thinking. Then later on, you might come to understand biologically, chemically, how is it technically working. But in the beginning, you just take the medicine from the doctor, right? Prabhupada said if you just take poison, you may not know how it's killing you, but it's still going to kill you. So you have to see by the effect, by the results. So he has a bad result, and then because I'm trying to help him, then he's looking at me like I'm the cause of his bad results. So now he's trying to blame it on me. Because he misunderstood it. So now the problem has now become a serious problem. Because you don't know where you picked up your disease, and because I'm helping you realize you got a disease, now the first thing you're saying, well, maybe I got it from you. Right? It's like you go to the doctor, you feel fine, and then the doctor takes all of the blood tests and all the different tests, and they say, oh, you got cancer, you got this disease, man, you're really sick. And then you're like, I think this doctor gave me this. Right? All he did was just took the test to show you that you're sick. And all of a sudden you're like, I wasn't sick before I came in this place. Even when I came in this place and this doctor started taking this test, somehow or other, he gave me this disease. And then the doctor's like trying to figure out how to solve your disease, and then the patient's not trusting the doctor because he's thinking this doctor gave me that disease. So now how do I trust the medicine that he's going to give me if I think he's the one who caused the disease? You'll start doubting the whole thing. You'll start blaming the doctor. That's the problem. That's the bigger problem. And the first thing I asked you was the first question. What asatsanga were you doing? Because I understood you can only get in that kind of consciousness because of asatsanga. There's no other way you can be in this type of disease condition unless you did asatsanga. So now I'm trying to track back. Who were you in contact with? Who said something where this poison went inside of you? Because you were not poisoned before. So what happened between now and then means you must have got this poison somewhere. It's like, when you're on the plane and they say, okay, you have to fill out the form. Which seat were you sitting in? Right? Because if it found out that you got disease, well, who were you sitting next to? And they can track it back. Oh, you picked it up from this person, you see? So as soon as I saw the consciousness, I said, okay, this is definitely asatsanga. So then who did you hear from? And then he told like few devotees. I said, no, because we're associating with them every day. Okay, they may not be exactly, completely pure devotees yet, but this is some other type of association. Then I'm saying, who else were you hearing from? Who else were you associated with? Then he said. Then I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So that's why they're devotees, they're in the temple, they're worshipping the deities, they're doing Harinam, they're talking about Krishna. So what happens is then you open yourself up more. So then you do more submissive over reception. But if someone's just a materialist, just he's a materialist, I'll just discuss something and get away from him, you know? You're not gonna like open your heart and your mind and your, tell your whole life, your whole heart, your whole mind to this person. You're just doing your business and getting out of there. But if you're assuming, oh, this is devotee care, and they're so nice, and they're being so hospitable, and they're inviting us, and they're hugging us, and they're liking us, then you will open your heart and your mind more. Now you'll be like, open heart, open mind, open ears. Now nicely they can put in this poison. Very nicely. Because you're participating. This is problem. Now you know what is asatsanga. And you see, it's so difficult to advance in spiritual life. It's really a struggle. It's really a battle to make any advancement, to overcome any obstacles, impediments. You have to work a lot. But it's so easy to lose it because of this asatsanga. That's why it's so risky. So when you see how difficult it is to build up your spiritual life, but how quickly you can lose it because of asatsanga, then we'll be much more cautious because you have too much to lose. So now he has to build himself up, purify himself, build himself all the way back, right? And then you just have to go through this whole extra difficult, complicated, disturbing recovery. And then you realize it's not worth it. I have to be careful to avoid this type of association. But when it looks like devotional, it's very confusing. So when I was listening to all the devotees, I thought everybody like demigod, everybody's devoted. They're all better than I am. So in the beginning, I was just listening to everybody. And then gradually, as you're getting purified, as you start to be able to discriminate, and you understand, more and more who to listen to, who not to listen to. When I was listening to all of these people, my consciousness was horrible. And I'm thinking, I was more Krishna conscious before I joined this institution. And now after all of this sadhana and all of this effort and working and this, I'm more contaminated. So I was completely bewildered by that. This is one of my first major doubts in spiritual life. Because I saw the amount of effort I put in. And I said, how is this possible for that amount of effort to be in this kind of horrible consciousness? And then whoever I was asking to explain that to me, nobody could explain it to me. Whatever little advice they gave, I tried to understand it, I tried to adjust it, but it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I'm getting more and more dissatisfied. it will make you doubtful. Definitely. And then when I asked Srila Govinda Swami, he said, when you came, you joined, you're a very simple-hearted person. All of us. We came, so okay, let me serve God, let me surrender to God, let me do some seva for Krishna. Right? I remember the first day, right? First day you have a book, Prabhupada's book in the hand, and you're looking at the address, the back of the book, and you're going up to the door and knocking or ringing the bell in the temple. I remember that day. So I'm very simple. I'm just coming to understand about God and the spiritual life and to do seva, to do service. What is my service? That's why I went there. That's why we went there. Then what happened between that and being completely contaminated, bewildered, doubting, so much doubts now, what happened? Morning till night sadhana, studying Prabhupada's books 3 hours a day, distributing books 6 days a week. How can I possibly be in this kind of horrible consciousness? That's why it was so bewildering to me. And then I came to understand, because who are you associating with? What are you hearing? Who are you hearing from? So we're just assuming it's satsanga, it's sadhu sangha, it's krishna-katha, it's harikatha, it's krishna nam. We're just assuming that because we're in the temple, we're in a spiritual organization, everyone's devotee, they're talking about Krishna, they're chanting Hare Krishna. So as I said, when I was in the Mayapur, I was hearing this devotee chanting very beautifully, nicely, but it wasn't spiritual. Rather than purifying and inspiring, it was contaminating and disturbing me to such a degree that I had to run out of the temple. And I was like, well, how is it like this? Why is it like this? Because asatsanga. So whatever poison is inside of them, that's also coming. And then if you're submissive and you're letting that enter inside of you, that will contaminate your consciousness. That's why without Krishna giving us intelligence and faith, who to hear from? Because if everyone says, oh, I'm a guru, I'm a preacher, I'm a counselor, I'm via medium, you should listen to me, I'm going to tell you about Krishna. Everybody's telling that, isn't it? When they're sitting there with the garland on, giving the class, they're saying, I have something to tell you about Krishna. But if Krishna doesn't give intelligence and faith, how will you know where to surrender, where to be submissive? It doesn't say just be surrender and submissive everywhere. That's a foolishness. So we have to discriminate. And without Krishna giving us intelligence and faith, who to surrender to, who to be submissive from, then you'll just be surrendering and submissive to anybody, everybody. And then you'll just be letting it in. Oh, okay, let me consider what is that mean? Yeah.
So anyone who's not initiated by a qualified spiritual master is a satsanga?
Yes. Absolutely. Because what is Sat? It means mercy of Krishna, mercy of Sadguru. So if you don't surrender and do Shravanam, submissive all reception there, how will you become Sat? Right? We've almost like used the word satsanga as if like someone's a devotee and he's a preacher, so that's satsanga, right? Because he's talking about Krishna. That's satsanga. But sat means transcendental. It means Shuddha Sattva. Right? Anything under Shuddha Sattva is not sat. It's material. So if we don't associate with Krishna and Krishna's devotee on Shuddha Sattva platform, there is no sat. It's all asat. Even if it's technically correct, it's still theoretical, it's still materialistic. It's not, Krishna's not manifesting there in theoretical. That means material. Theoretical means not real. In theory. Theoretical. In theory. It's not scientific. So Tattva Vijnanam means scientific, practically realized knowledge of Krishna and Krishna's devotee on Shuddha Sattva platform. And without their mercy, and without becoming qualified by that mercy, then how you develop Tattva Vijnanam? No, then also all you have is Gyan, which is some theoretical, materialistically conceived understanding under the modes of material nature. And it's misunderstood. That's why they keep adjusting all of these so-called, philosophical papers. 2.0, 3.0, 2.5, 3.5. What is this? This is materialistic conception. It's like a scientific approach. You're just trying to, whatever you came up with, which seems the best, that's where we're at now. And then we'll just keep working on it, fine-tuning it, getting a better understanding. Okay, now 2.5. Oh, now it has this bug. Oh, it has this bug. Right? Now you always have to keep downloading some updated, right? Because it's getting rid of all the bugs. That's scientific, materialistic process. Isn't it? But absolute truth, it's not something you're getting rid of the bugs. Because there's no contamination. It's spotless Purana. Absolute truth, there's no bugs. Well, this is our latest version, this is our latest understanding. This is materialistic.
So why they're not turning towards someone who...
Then what?
Why not turning to someone who knows the absolute truth?
Why not what?
Turning to someone who knows the absolute truth. Is guys who...
Good?
Yeah.
Why they are not turning to?
Yeah. Instead of discussing and coming with different conclusions.
So why are they not interested in absolute truth?
Why they're not interested in absolute truth?
Why they're not turning to someone?
Because they have some other desire. Karma, Gyan, Yoga, there's some contamination. They want something material, pranam, money, followers, name and fame, pranam, pranami, pratishta. So gross and subtle materialistic desire, that is not bhakti. Bhakti really means Shuddha Bhakti, Prem Bhakti. Krishna says it starts on Brahma Bhuta Prasana, liberated platform after Anatta Nivritti, Nishta platform. So if we don't go through Anatta Nivritti under the guidance of bona fide Guru, and we don't receive mercy of Guru and Krishna in Parampara, how you'll understand and get rid of all of these gross and subtle materialistic contaminations, bugs, desires, anarthas. You won't even see it. You won't even understand it. Because of blindness. If there's pride, it makes you blind. Falsico, blindness. Lust, blindness. So all these materialistic, gross and subtle desires makes you spiritually blind. So Krishna says, because you have other desires, then you're getting vanchana, you're getting cheated. He says, Manmana Bhava Mat Bhakto, only think about me, be my devotee, fully surrender unto me, be fully conscious of me. That's a Shuddha Bhakta, Prema Bhakta. So why someone is not like that? Because they have other attachments, other desires, gross or subtle, which Krishna is also fulfilling, but it's a vanchana. Krishna says to show special mercy, I destroy all of these gross, subtle desires. I give you intelligence, faith, understanding how to desire me, right? So all of this, this is the disease of the heart, weakness of the heart. And if we could see and understand all of those subtleties, we don't need a guru. But because we cannot see, we cannot understand it properly, and we easily misunderstand it, therefore Krishna gives us a guru to help us to be able to understand it. So what is your question? Why is somebody not interested? Because of other desires. And Krishna is just fulfilling their desires. They want name and fame, the pratishta. They want to be seen as advanced, great, intelligent, advanced devotee. They want followers. They want name and fame, power, control, money. They have some materialistic motivation. Because of that, it's not pure bhakti. So therefore, it's not sat. We just say like we're devotees, right? But really, devotee means like real devotee. It means prema bhakta, Shuddha Bhakta. We're trying to become like that. But we say, no, we're devotees, right? And then because you're a devotee, whenever you're talking about Krishna, reading about Krishna, then that means you're satsanga, right? But is that really satsanga? Sat means Shuddha Sattva. That's why the best we can do is to somehow try to have some sincerity and seriousness for a real thing, or a real platform. And even if you're not on that platform, you're hankering and desiring how to understand and come to that platform. That's the best we can do on this platform. Because now you're desiring it, you're not assuming you already have it, but you're understanding the necessity of it, for it. Now you're hankering more and more for it, how to achieve it, how to get it, how to become it. So that sincerity and seriousness for that goal, that's required, because then Krishna fulfills all of the desires, whether materially or spiritually. Anything else? Yeah?
So asatsanga, it can be like could have effect like for a very long time also, like say the poison is inside, and then it slowly like starts to contaminate the heart, then the mind and consciousness and the senses, and it's basically like.
But if you hear immediately somebody who's an aparati to your guru, then you're immediately participating in the guru aparat. So you'll immediately get shut off. It's a hatimata, like a mad elephant offense. So if you associate and hear from persons who do not have faith in your guru, then you are directly, indirectly doing aparad, guru aparad. And that will spoil everything. It'll put you immediately into bodily consciousness. And then you consider the spiritual master just some ordinary guy with some materialistic motivation. Then you'll misunderstand everything. Then you'll start finding fault. You'll start criticizing yourself as a result of that. That's why it says that the asatsanga tyaga, you must give that up. Otherwise you cannot advance at all. And whatever advancement you did have or do have, you can easily lose it by this type of asatsanga. And the problem is, if it's your mother, your father, your family member, your friends, whoever you like, whoever you love, whoever you're attached to, now it becomes a big challenge. Because the deep-rooted attachment is there. But you have to make a choice. If you want to advance in spiritual life and get the mercy of Guru Krishna, then there's no question that has to be given up. If you're not serious about your spiritual life, then this material attachment, material bodily relations will hold you back. And now you're in a very risky position because there's no shelter and protection spiritually. And that means Maya can catch you anytime, any moment. Some mental concoction, some misunderstanding, some offense. And then, now everything very risky position. So it's dangerous, it's very, very dangerous. And then you're eating, what are they cooking? You're listening to their vibration. It's all asat. That means you're willingly, consciously taking poison. Then you have to get heavy reaction, punishment. Otherwise, how will we realize? Right? If Krishna just immediately fixed it, you wouldn't get the realization of how dangerous it is. So if he makes it that you really feel the price that you have to pay for this mistake, then you'll be like, okay, let me get my lesson and be much more careful next time. Does that answer your question? So if the recovery is just like that, maybe that's not enough for you to get the full understanding of the mistake that you just made. Maybe the reaction, the punishment has to be so heavy and meaningful that we realize, oh, this is a heavy price, so next time I have to be much more careful. That's up to Krishna. Krishna will give us exactly what we need to understand it. Make sense? It's just like the parent, say you do something wrong and then the parent punishes you. And then they say, okay, you have to, stay in your room tonight. Right? But then you have your computer and your phone and you're just talking to everybody, right? So it's okay, now I'm just in my room tonight, no problem. But what if the parent says, no internet, no phone, no computer, no telephone, and it's 2 nights? Right? So won't that punishment, then you realize, okay, that wasn't worth it. So if the punishment's not enough, you're like, okay, some inconvenience, but more or less it's the same thing going on, then it's not heavy enough punishment. If we're doing everything right, by mercy of Guru Krishna, you don't have to be punished. Because we already got the point of the punishment. But if we're not accepting, we're not cooperating, then we're going to get a reaction. We're going to get some punishment. Because we're not listening. And you need you need to be disciplined. That's why most people don't want that kind of guru. But then you also don't get the opportunity. Then you'll never change, you never wake up, you never get out of the condition you're in, you never realize anything more or better or higher. And therefore it's all more or less, theoretical. Social, it's just like a social, just becomes like a social engagement. Bias, social engagement. Someone else was going to ask? Yeah. You're still here? Right, he's been telling us for like 2 weeks he's leaving, Every day it's like a new drama about him leaving, and I keep coming back and he's like still here.
Good evening.
And then on the last day it'll come like every hour he'll remind you, instead of every day. Every hour. And then when it's within 1 hour, it'll be like, it's 40 more minutes, 20 more minutes, I'll be leaving. Like the whole world has to stop, right?
So I was thinking to to buy some prasadam from there to.
What prasadam?
Then I think that's.
What's prasadam? If Krishna is not standing on the altar, and it's not in the heart and minds of the devotees, then which prasadam are you talking about?
It's like just sin.
You're better off going to the street vendor and buying some puri and some sabji. At least you know what you're eating there, isn't it? Just like the other day we were talking about this one Prabhu who's singing, everyone likes to listen to the bhajans, right? And they're trying to make it like it's Shuddha Sattva and Prem Bhakti and Raganuga, right? So it's like, this is like not true. It's a lie. Okay, it's Maya. Okay, but if you want to listen to Maya, at least know that it's Maya. But why are you trying to say that it's not Maya? It's just another type of Maya music. So you'll just get a reaction, a materialistic reaction listening to materialistic song. But don't try to say, it's transcendental and it's prema and it's, just because you like to listen to that kind of music, because you like it, you're going to just turn it into being like a Shuddha Sattva transcendental platform. Because your heart and your materialistic mind and senses like that sound. It's still Maya, it's still materialistic. But if you still want to listen to that, then that's your business. But don't try to tell us that it's transcendental, that it's spiritual. That's the problem. You understand the difference? Yes. That's the problem. If you still want to listen to that, that's your business, but you get your own results, you get your own reaction. But please don't try to, convince us that this is somehow spiritual. They're believing that it's spiritual. They're believing that it's, Raganuga, Prem Bhakti. It's not.
Well, if someone is listening to just instrumental sounds, like normal instruments,
Any sound.
will that destroy the bhakti?
Any sound that is material will contaminate the consciousness. Any sound vibration. Any sound that's coming from Krishna Parampara, Guru Sadhu Shastra, only that's transcendental sound. Because it's coming from Krishna. It's coming from Sat region. Every other sound, vibration is coming from Maya. It's not that okay, I'm going to make a mental adjustment and think that this sound is transcendental. Right? It's like people who listen to, Stairway to Heaven, right? Climbing the stairway to heaven, right? It's spiritual. Or they take LSD and they listen to the Grateful Dead, right? We were on a spiritual trip last night. Even sometimes they have a saying, they're like, I saw God last night. I saw God last night. So that in their minds, they're thinking that's a spiritual experience. But the mind is three-dimensional. How can a materialistic mind have anything but, extreme speculative, analysis on three-dimensional platform? It's just, okay, maybe you went further in your mental speculation than before. So just because you went further in your mental speculation doesn't make it transcendental, doesn't make it fourth dimensional. So if you just have a wider range of mental speculation and more emotion or sentiment, that doesn't make it transcendental. It doesn't make it fourth dimensional. How else can I disappoint you today? It's like, okay, I'm listening to instrumental, no one's voice. I'm thinking it's spiritual. And now I can't eat anything there. Now I gotta go to the vendor and get some puri and some sabji. It's better than eating that. Now I can't listen to this CD because that's Maya. And then, the actual transcendental thing, right? What's actually transcendental music or bhajan or kirtan or harikatha, krishna-katha, we have no liking for it. Because we're trying to satisfy our material mind and senses. We're not trying to satisfy our soul. Right? It's different food.